What is cloud computing, right? So you all have the knowledge of cloud computing. Unknowingly or knowingly, you are actually using it. Okay. So um, the cloud computing is nothing but a computing resource which is which exists somewhere remotely, and with the help of internet we can use it. Okay, that is the actual concept of cloud. So, as I told you, cloud computing is nothing but a computing resource which is located somewhere remotely, and we can use that computing resource using the internet. And in spite of which end system you are using, uh, it gives us the facility to connect to the cloud infrastructure. So we have many example, as you can see in the diagram. Cloud is look like a cloud, and here we have many services that is actually provided by the cloud, and there are heterogeneous systems by which we can connect to the system, and we can use the resources of the cloud infrastructure. Okay, so let's assume that we are a startup. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to establish our infrastructure. So what we want to do is we want to establish our infrastructure. So establishing an infrastructure means what? Establishing an infrastructure means, let's say I'm the software firm, means I'm opening a software firm, and I have, let's say, 40-50 employees. And definitely, if I'm having 40-50 employees, and let's say I'm the software firm, so I have to have the office space. Second thing, I have to have a server with my office. In that server will be useful for storing those sensitive data, what my firm is creating. Server will help you for organizing your project. Server will also help you to communicate with your employees, right? So that's why we require those servers. So if I want to buy those servers as a firm, so I have to invest a lot. So let's say we have to do 1 crore, 2 crores investment at the very beginning to make our server infrastructure ready. So I have to buy those computing resources. So what I have to do is I have to buy those computing resources, and uh, and then I'll establish my whole firm. So if I am opening a new firm with 40-50 employee, the first requirement is I should have a high computing power servers, which will help my employee for further communication, for getting better connectivity, and to uh, have different software installed on it, so that my whole uh, firm will get benefited. If I have some computing requirement, I'll fulfill from that. So initially the requirement is huge, and the investment is also huge. Okay. So there is a difference in the slide. There is a difference Like if I want to have the computing resource on premises, or if I'll use the cloud computing services, then what are the thing, what are the difference between these two, and how it will help uh, to open or to initiate my operation as a new firm. Now, if I have the on-premises establishment, so definitely higher pay and less scalability will be there. What is the meaning of higher pay? Means at the very beginning, I have to invest a lot in terms of money, in terms of time to establish those infrastructure, and it is less scalable. The meaning of scalability is like if I need some more infrastructure in future, can I get it? So if I need some more computing infrastructure, definitely I have to buy some more hardwares, and I can do the horizontal scaling after that. So it is with the current infrastructure, the scalability is much difficult. I have to buy some more hardwares for giving the scalability to my firm. Like if I have 50 employees, let's say in next few years, I may have 100 employees or I may have 200 employees. So to fulfill the requirement of those employees, I have to increase my infrastructure, right? So the term of less scalability is pointing that once you establish infrastructure, it is less scalable. If you want to scale up, so you have to buy new products or new hardwares. Now, if you'll consider the cloud computing aspect of it, so in the cloud computing, what happened? Uh, Whatever you use, depend upon that you pay. So let's say initially with the 100 employee, I do not need those much of computing resources. So I'll just configure my virtual infrastructure in the cloud in such a way so that it will fulfill the requirement of 100 people. And whenever I got more employees on my firm, I'll increase that particular computing resource infrastructure without any problem. So that's why it says that scale up. If you want to scale up, it will be definitely a scale up, but you have to pay more for that. And if you want to scale down, so definitely you have to pay less for that. But here, the scalability is the problem. You cannot scale down. Once you buy the hardware, you are thinking that only 50% of the resource has been utilized and 50% is not. Then that 50% um, you cannot means reduce it, because it is the hardware infrastructure with you, so it will be there forever. You cannot reduce it. But here we have the facility to reduce also. Here we have the facility to increase also in the cloud computing infrastructure. Lot huge space for servers. We have to allot huge space for server. Let's say one or two big room we have to allot for for establishing our server, right? I have to have the AC connections. I have to have good backup for it, right? I should have the uh, uninterrupted power supply. All those things are required when we are having the server on premises. Now, when we talk about cloud computing, no service space is required. I don't have to cap the requirement of the servers for the cloud computing infrastructure. So here no server is required, no physical server is required, but here we have to have the server space. But here the server is with the cloud service provider. I don't have to worry about it. So you can see if you have a building of, let's say, 5 6 rooms, big rooms. So when you are having the infrastructure on premises, 1 or 2 room you have to dedicate for your server. But here you can utilize those space for your employee, accommodate more employees. In that way, you can reduce the cost of what you are paying for the room, right? And here, because we doesn't have any server space required, it is all virtual, right? It is, as I told you, the computing resources are in the remote location. Here we have to appoint the team for the hardware and software maintenance. That is very true. So if you are buying, let's say, 1 crore, 2 crores of high computing resources, high computing servers, so you have to hire some people who will maintain those servers, who will maintain those hardwares, as well as can maintain the softwares. But if you are using the cloud computing infrastructure, definitely no expert is required for the hardware or software maintenance. It is the headache of the cloud service providers to maintain their hardware as well as to maintain the softwares. On premises, it is a poor data security. The reason is we are thinking that we have the standalone system, and we reduce the security on it, and we do not apply the latest security versions on the on-premises hardwares. It generally happens if you are hiring good people for making your firm more secure, then definitely that problem will be not there of poor data security. But always in cloud computing, because they have a huge team which will look for the data security, because if they will not provide the data security to their customer, that they will lose their customer, and if they will lose their customer, their name will be degraded, and once the name will be degraded, there will be no business for them. So definitely they will put a good amount of uh, what you can say is the time and their money and their resources for making a good data security. Less chance of data recovery here in the case of when we have the server on premises. So if you take the example where we have, let's say, filing happen in Odisha region, right? If we have the server in Odisha region, definitely there is a power cut for, I think, 10, 12, 15 days. And, and also there is a calamity. And because of that, there may be the loss of data because of the failure of the hardware. So if the failure is occur into your hardware, definitely there is a very less chance to recover your data, or it will take a lot of time to recover your data. But in terms of cloud computing infrastructure, it is very much we can recover from the disaster, because in the cloud computing, if you are storing your data, definitely it will be there forever, because they will use different mechanisms to store those data, so that it will be duplicated, it will be redundant data they will put in different servers, so that there will be no data loss, right? That you also feel by yourself, like when you are putting something into the cloud, and let's say you lost your mobile phone, and again you want to have a new mobile phone, so all the data from the cloud you can fetch. Now the next point related to on-premises infrastructure and the cloud infrastructure is lack of flexibility here in the on-premises. We doesn't have the flexibility to change the configurations. Let's say I want to add some more GPUs into my servers, I have to buy. If I want to add some more RAM on my system, I have to buy it. If I want to have more softwares, so I have to purchase those software. Here we have less flexibility, but here in the cloud computing, it is a highly flexibility. This is providing, let's say, we have the infrastructure of, let's say, 16 Xeon processor, where in each Xeon processors we have 16 processors. So 16 into 16 processor capability we have. Let's say I want to add some GPU also on that, so I can easily add it. If it is a cloud computing infrastructure, with the one click I can do that because they are providing it. But if we'll take the on-premises example, where so it is not been done. No automatic update, right? If I want to have a new version of the software, I have to buy it. I have to buy the license out of it. But if we'll talk about cloud computing, if you're using the software, definitely you doesn't have to buy it again and again, or you doesn't have to update it again and again. It is the responsibility of the cloud service provider to give you the latest version of the software. Less collaboration here in the on-premises, but in the cloud computing devices, teams can collaborate from by disparate location, because as I told you, that cloud computing is nothing but the resource infrastructure which can be used or which can be accessed through internet. So anyone who are geographically located in a different places can collaborate with this particular cloud systems, and they can make a collaborative effort for developing the softwares and all, or they can exchange their thoughts. Data cannot be accessed remotely in terms of on-premises, but here, as I told you, all are connected with the internet, so data can be shared anywhere over the internet. Take longer time to implementation, definitely. So if you are buying the product, you have to buy the product, you have to put the infrastructure intact, you have to have to hire those hardware and software maintenance employees. Then they will configure your servers, and it will take a lot of time to implement server services in your firm. But in terms of cloud computing, is a rapid implementation, and rapidly we can implement with some clicks. We can implement the whole infrastructure. So this is the advantages between the on-premises infrastructure and the infrastructure in the cloud, right? So what is that concept? So I think you understood the concept of cloud computing. So the concept is actually very old. So what happened in early 70s, when this computing resources are very limited, and you also have seen that there are computer Anika and all those computer whose size is very large. So everybody cannot afford it, or everybody doesn't have it. It is with the selected either the educational institute or selected firm like Bell Laboratory, ANT Laboratories. So if somebody like me, let's say I am the professor of some university and I want to use those infrastructure, so for my project or for my research, so what I'll do is I'll take the appointment. I'll go there. I'll take the appointment that I need to use the computing resources of yours. So kindly give me some time, right? So in that way, what you do is you'll go there in their time and you'll use the infrastructure. So if it is in the educational institute, definitely it will be a free service for you. But if you are taking this service to some labs or to some companies, definitely you have to pay for that. So you are paying for that, or you are using the infrastructure for that, right? And then, so this is the way how we are doing previously. In the 80s, mid 80s, when the concept of or you can say early 80s, when the concept of personal computer came into the picture. Everyone has the capacity to purchase those computer because it is a PC. The concept is personal computer. So they are having the infrastructure in their desktop, and slowly it is becoming that why can't we make it portable? So it will become a laptop. The concept of laptop. So the the Apple company have given the good infrastructure related to PCs. IBM had also come. Then slowly Microsoft is making to use those desktop more conveniently. So they are making the operating system for that. So slowly the concept of personal computer came into the picture in late 80s, early 80s and mid 80s. And you can see slowly means in early 2000, the concept of cloud computing came into the picture, and many people are talking about cloud. Now, what we are doing in early 70s, it is now reflecting into in the era of 2000, or nowadays you can see. So our computing resources, let's say I have a laptop, I have a limited computing resource, right? So I need some more powerful system to complete the task of, let's say, machine learning, let's say AI. Let's say we have neural network problems. So to solve that, I need GPUs. I cannot buy GPU. I have the CPU in my laptop. How can I get GPU? So the concept of this cloud computing and the need of cloud computing has been emerged because we have the resource which is limited, which is not fulfilling our requirement of today's generation. So we are using the cloud infrastructure, right? We have the mobile phone, but still we send our data to some of the cloud. We share our data with, let's say I have the Apple mobile phone, so I'll share my photos into the iCloud. Why I'll do that? Because I don't have the enough space. I have to use those spaces which is given by the providers. So I'll use those spaces in different ways. So I'll use those spaces to store those data. And right now, the generation of digital data has been increased due to your high resolution cameras, right? It is generating a huge amount of or data. You can see one photo, it is of up to 10 MB and 20 MB. And when you see the computing infrastructure of 60s and 80s, it is total of 256 KB or 1 MB. So you can see uh, how the transformation from the hardware has been done, and because of the transformation of, or the, you can say, the advancement of the hardware, we can easily store those amount of data very quickly. Then the communication protocol has also been increased. The the communication bandwidth has been increased. How easily we can send a large amount of data with different communication model, that has also been increased. So and all those things are actually evolved a new concept of cloud computing. And everybody, as I told you, you also using cloud computing infrastructure. So if I'll take an example, let's say you all use mailing services, right? So mail services are nothing but cloud or cloud services. You're using Facebook, you're using Instagram, you're using LinkedIn. All the social networking site are nothing but cloud, where you are putting your private data, or you are putting your pictures, you are putting your data, you are putting your achievements, you are writing some blogs. So where it is going to store? It is going to store in their cloud infrastructure. And you can get those data in one click through some thin client. Either you have to install it in your mobile phone as an app, or through the browser you can access those infrastructure. Another type of infrastructure that you'll use is Google Cloud, where you use Google Drives, right? Google Drive will provide you the space to store those data. You might be using Dropbox. So Dropbox is also a cloud services, which will give you the space to store your data. And we are using it. Many of you known about the Google platform, which is called Kaggle, in which they will give you the computing resources, they will give you the memory, they will give you the processing power, and you just have to put your data set, and you have to have the algorithm, machine learning algorithm, and with that you can run a larger program, or you can run a larger computing without any problem. It is all free by the Google. So we are using it. Okay, we are using those cloud computing services which are provided by different cloud computing service providers. And so what I am telling you is the concept that we are using in early 70s or late 60s. That concept we are using nowadays. So how the time is changing, but the requirement of the people is also getting changed, and we are using those concepts what we are using previously nowadays also. We have to host our website, where I'll do that. So I have to use the cloud services, right, to store it. So cloud is nothing but computing resource. So computing means a computer will, how many resources are there in the computer? So computer will have their memory, right? Their processing power. What else? Their storage power, their networking capability, their operating systems, their system softwares, their application softwares. So all those are nothing but computing resources. So those computing resources we are using through the internet. Okay, so that is the actual concept of cloud and cloud computing. So the cloud computing is the delivery of on-demand computing services over the internet on a pay-as-you-go basis. Most of the services what we are using is the free services, right? So Google also will give you, let's say you open a Gmail account, Google will give you, let's say, 15 GB of memory in the Google Drive that you can use it. But if your mail and your Google Drive is going beyond 15 GB, so they will give you a link, right? You just go and pay for more storage. So why would they do it? Because they are giving the free services. Now you are acquainted with the free services. It is a need in today's life. And if you want to use those free services, you have to pay for that. Just like that. There are many paid services. We have seen the first example where we want to make the servers on premises and we want to use the servers of the cloud service providers. That is also pay per use. So as you use, you have to pay. It's just like electricity bill. So how the electricity bill is generated? So it's based on your consumption of the electricity, based on the unit or how many unit you have consumed. Based on that, they will give you uh, the the bill, and you have to pay for that. It's just the same. The cloud computing is also almost the same, that you have to pay the bill as per you use the cloud infrastructure, right? So that is there in the cloud. Rather than managing file in a local storage device, cloud computing makes it easy to save them over internet. Yes, it is. So if we'll take an example of storage, right? In the previous days, how we will store the data? We'll have the pen drives, we'll have the CD, we'll have the external hard drive. Let me tell you, today you don't have anything. You don't have the CDs. You may have the uh, flash storage device like pen drive. But let me tell you, in my entire career, I lost more than 20, I think, more than 20 pen drives. You may also lost some of the pen drives. And what about CDs? Actually, I used to collect the photos of my school and my graduation days. But right now, I didn't find those CDs. I don't know where it is. Maybe it is corrupted, maybe somewhere it is, but I cannot recover the data right now. What about the hard drive? What is the reliability of the hard drive? The reliability of the hard drive is also very less, right? It is also prone to different type of damages. So these type of storage, uh, I'll use or I'll go for the internet, sorry, cloud. Can I use the Google Drive? You think Google Drive is more reliable? Yes, we think Google Drive is more reliable. We'll put our important document in our mail. Why we do that? Because we think that it is more reliable, it is more convenient to be accessed. But here, if we'll go to the storage devices, you have to have those storage devices physically to use it. So if you don't have it, it is very difficult to use it. So we'll put our data nowadays into the cloud instead of putting it into the hard drive or CD drive or any flash drive like pen drives. So it is the scenario that has been changed in today's life. That's why we are learning this particular technology, which is called cloud computing technology.